Have you ever just finished a book and sat there thinking, wait, did this book just change me? Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sammy, Psych PA, an avid reader, book collector, hobby enthusiast, somebody who is constantly chasing that 5-star feeling. I'm here today to get into the science behind that 5-star feeling so you and I, both of us, everybody involved, can have as many 5-star reads as possible in the year 2026. I posted this video here, the science behind your reading slumps, your book slumps, and I started thinking, why don't we look at the opposite? Why don't we take a positive twist on this and look at what happens when we're actually doing the reverse and we find a book that works for us? So today we're going to look into some different pathways to the 5-star read, and we're breaking it down into two major concepts. We're going to call those the mirror and the window. Stick with me. Let's start with the mirror aspect, and this is going to deal with the self-verification theory and the medial prefrontal cortex. One reason your book might be hitting that 5-star feeling is because of internal reflection, or what we're referring to as the mirror. Is it too corny to have this guy right behind me for this section? So this idea gets into the self-verification theory, which was developed by William Swan in the 80s. This is discussing how we prefer others to view us as we view ourselves. It helps things to be predictable and familiar, and it really gets into this idea that as humans, we have this deep biological need and want to just feel understood, to feel seen, to feel loved. We want to confirm that our feelings about ourselves are real, and that's even if they're positive or negative. When we're reading a book that we feel really reflects ourselves, we start to activate our medial prefrontal cortex, which you can kind of think of as an identity center in our brain. It gets into a lot of things as far as emotional regulation, decision making, but it also plays a role in self-referential thoughts, self-recognition. Those self-referential thoughts are essentially your brain seeing something and being like, hey, that's me, that's us. I recognize that, and that's how we feel about ourselves. And so connecting that to reading, these portions of our brain when we're reading a story connect that to ourself, our own memories, our own personality. Let me get an example for you real quick. Abby Jimenez's Just for the Summer. I related so deeply to our female main character, Emma, and her struggle with a dependent parent. My brain was reading it. My medial prefrontal cortex was lighting up saying, hey, that's me. Emma sees me. Abby Jimenez sees me. This can confirm my feelings. I can be understood. And for that reason, it was a 5-star. It might not have mattered anything else that happened in this book. I mean, it was a fantastic romance. Don't get me wrong. Justin was amazing. But the reason it was a 5-star is because that connection, that self-reference, that mirror that I saw with Emma, I was reading it and I just really felt like my own story was being confirmed through hers. It validates that your own story matters and that your own story is real and valuable. Let's talk about the other way to our 5-star reads, and that is through the window. That's through the window. And this is going to lead into what we call narrative transportation and cognitive empathy. So what about the books that are nothing like our lives? The books that we find to be this 5-star read, this 5-star feeling, but we might not relate to a singular character we just read about. This is where we experience the window in narrative transportation. So let's talk about it. Narrative transportation is that feeling of being lost in a book, lost in a story. Physically, we're on planet Earth. We're on this plane. We're on the couch. We're in our bed. We're at the beach reading. But mentally and emotionally, we are somewhere else. Our brain has transported its resources into the specific story that we're reading, to simulate reality, make it feel real, allow imagination to really happen and to really experience the book as if you are experiencing it firsthand. And while you're experiencing this transportation, you are also heightening the effect of cognitive empathy. And this isn't just feeling sad or sorry or pity or feeling bad for a character. It's actually the mental work of taking a perspective, having perspective on a story, the process of where you start to think, what would I do in this situation? What would my next decision be? It's your brain, your noggin, literally building a simulation of what it's like to be somebody else, to feel like somebody else, to experience somebody else's experiences for a moment in time, and make an attempt to face their problems head on. So if you're ever feeling a little bit crazy, like all of a sudden you are giggling, you're kicking your feet, or you're sobbing, and then you suddenly look around yourself and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm sitting in a dark living room. Oh my goodness, I'm sitting at a public beach right now. This is what my reality is. You're not crazy. It's your brain at work. So let me give you a personal example. This book right here, The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I am not a shaman in a war-torn empire like my friend Rin here. However, while I was reading this book, I felt the effects of narrative transportation and cognitive empathy. I'm constantly reading every word on these pages in this series, and I'm just thinking, what would I do in this situation? Can I even make those assumptions? I need to now gather everything that Rin has gone through in order to make any of those sort of decisions, because my real life decisions are not applicable because my real life is different and the way I grew up was different. So yeah, I was there, and it feels like 5 stars because it feels like I was there for 500 pages. It's almost like you're not just reading the book, your brain, your emotions, you're getting this whole new life experience. And that's what can make it feel like a 5-star feeling, okay? And outside of the window and the mirror, there's a few more things we should think about when we're looking for that 5-star feeling. One of those things being dopamine reward. Everything always comes back to dopamine, doesn't it? We have that fast, that quick type of dopamine, but we also have that slow build, that slow burn dopamine. When we think of fast, we think of quick. That's going to be your phone scrolling. It's a quick spike, but a big crash and a big burnout. Slow dopamine, that slow burn dopamine, that is your delayed gratification, and that's what we're getting when we read a 5-star book, or even like a 4-star, maybe a 3-star. The author spends time with you and spends time with these characters, building the tension over 500 pages, over 600 pages, leading to curiosity, emotional involvement, attachment as well. And so when the plot twist finally hits, or that couple finally kisses for the first time, the dopamine release is way bigger and way more satisfying because your brain feels like it earned it. Because it's not just that big, great ending, it's the wait and the buildup and the earned reward you got from getting from point A to point B. And then our brain is also looking to hit this sweet spot between novelty, i.e. new stuff, and familiarity, i.e. safe stuff. But there's a balance between these two ideas. If something is too familiar, we will get bored. You know, it's like what we're saying when we're reading the same romantasy book over and over again. It's the same trope, it's the same plot, it's the same ending. There's nothing at stake here. Every male main character that's morally gray is reading the same. That's too familiar. But if a book is too confusing, like you're reading your first high fantasy for the first time ever and you haven't had any sort of transition books, it might be too confusing and you might get overwhelmed and just be over it altogether. So a 5-star happens when we hit a perfect sweet spot between novelty and familiarity, finding this perfect balance between feeling safe but also surprised. So if we're talking about Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez again, sure, it's a trope I've read before, kind of a fake dating, arranged dating situation. But what was surprising and what was new was the emotional depth between the two characters, both of them going through real life, real things, and then also finding a character that I connected with so deeply, because I did not expect that in the slightest when I picked up the book. There was familiarity in the tropes and the writing style and the author, but there was novelty in the characters and what we really like unearthed in that book. And lastly, before we talk about how we are going to use all this information in order to get our next 5-star read, that 5-star feeling, we're going to talk about identity alignment. Have you ever heard of the phrase right book, wrong time? A book can find you at the right time, but it can also find you at the wrong time. We are innately evolving evolving all the time as we grow, as we mature, as our brain develops, as we are exposed to new and differing environments. A book that was a 5-star read for you at 15 or 16 might not hold the same special spot, special feeling at the age of 25, 26, right? You're a different person. It probably still gives you that 5-star feeling just for the nostalgia, the familiarity of it. But if you picked up the same book for the first time that you did at 15 versus 25, you're probably going to give it a different rating because you're a little bit different as a person, I would assume. Let's bring this one back to the Poppy War. I picked up at the Poppy War at a time where I feel like I've really grown, I've really matured. I feel like this brain is as developed as it is going to get. This prefrontal cortex has been done with its business, you know? I'm getting older and there's different things that are starting to matter. I'm definitely gaining a way bigger interest in global politics and being educated, well-informed, and not being ignorant when it comes to voting time. And I definitely encourage this for everybody. I think this is an experience that happens just as you grow up and you get older and you realize the importance of things going on around you. But so I picked up the Poppy War at a time where being educated on world history and have a really good understanding of politics is important to me. And that book has a heavy commentary on those topics. So it was a perfect time for me to pick it up because I'm so curious about those things. And what better way to learn about things than through art that is meant to mimic or replicate or identify with things that have happened in reality. And then when you're interested in it, then you are more likely to do the real world, the reality research of all of it. So sometimes a 5-star book, a 5-star feeling comes from reading the right book at the right time for the person you are becoming or the person you are today. As a Psych PA, let's write your prescription on how to get your next 5-star read. Now that we know the science, I'm sure you're asking how are we going to use all this information to find our next 5-star read, get that 5-star feeling. Number one, we need to identify, are we looking for a mirror or are we looking for a window at this point in time? Do I need to be seen right now? Do I need to feel seen, understood, or do I need to escape? And depending on the type of reader you are, the type of person you are, this could change. Some people might find it helpful if they're going through a particularly hard time, whether that's with their family, their work, life, job. It might be nice to find a book that does mirror you and does help you watch somebody else work through the same process you're going to work through. But there are people who will feel the reverse. That's just going to depend on you, personal level. I would have to get to know you to understand that. But if maybe you're just feeling a bit emotionally stagnant, you don't really have anything going on in your life, that might be another time that you're feeling very comfortable reaching out and looking through a window and seeing what else other people are experiencing. It might be a time where you feel really open to that. So it just kind of depends. Do you want to escape or do you want to self-reflect with somebody? Number two, optimize your environment for that slow dopamine, for that slow burn build. We talked about this in the last video as well, about how to get out of your reading slump. But if you're trying to read a book, especially if you're in the first chapters, you're just starting it and your phone is buzzing in the room, you need to get rid of it. Get it out of sight, get your iPad out of sight, your laptop out of sight, get the fast track dopamines out of the way so you can really optimize your environment in order to get locked and loaded into that slow build, that slow burn dopamine, and really enjoy the payoff and earn it. Number three, lowering the cognitive load and the expectations with a book. Sometimes the hype around a book or even like the distaste around a book can affect the way that you are going to perceive that book, because if you know, hey, this was a 5-star read for everybody and their mother, then your brain is going to be on high alert the whole time, and because of that there's going to be higher flaw recognition and you're going to find a problem with it somewhere in the book. Try just blind reading. Try not looking at the Goodreads rating. Let your brain decide if it's going to be a 5-star read without the societal pressures, you know? Last but certainly not least, respect your identity alignment. Respect where you are at this current time. Just like my favorite book, Just for the Summer, it's all about meeting people where they're at. Meet yourself where you're at, okay? Treat yourself how you would treat others, okay? There's no need to force yourself to finish a book because everybody loves it or everybody has something to say about it. If you're not connecting with it, put it down. You can revisit it. you can always revisit a book. It's okay, again, to DNF a book and come back to it. I mean, even 2 years later when you feel like your identity has shifted. Because again, books that you liked 2 years ago are not going to feel the same as books you liked currently as to books you're going to like in 5 years. So that's the information I've got for you today. My challenge, my homework for you, let me give you some take home, some homework. Let's take a look at your last 5-star read. Was it a mirror? Was it a window? How did it align with your current identity? Did it have that perfect balance of something new but something safe and familiar? Overall, let me know in the comments, and then maybe we can think about how are we going to find our next 5-star read based on what that last one was for us. Ugh. And if you are currently in a reading slump, don't forget to go watch my video on the science behind a reading slump and then come back to this one, okay? Wait, actually, if you made it this far, you don't need to rewatch this, but go watch that one. And hopefully I won't see you over there because hopefully you are not currently in a reading slump. But yeah, comment down below any questions, any concerns. Let me know what's going on. Happy reading, and I will see you in the next one.